Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing my July wrap up, and now I have to say that this is really the wrap up for my first 3 weeks of reading in July because I'm currently doing the booktubeathon, and I'm going to do a separate wrap up video for the books that I complete in this last week of July. I have read more in this month than I have in any months previously. This has been a crazy good reading month. I was finding a lot of books that I was really enjoying, and the library was having a lot of books available for me, so as a result I ended up reading a lot. And I do have quite a few reviews up for some of the books that I read, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about each book. I'm going to try to make this a little bit shorter than I normally do, and I will be posting all the videos below that I have more in-depth reviews for. So the first book that I read in the month of July was actually an audiobook, A Fall of Marigolds by Susan Meissner. Now I have a spoiler-free book review for this because this is definitely one of my favorite reads of this year. I really loved this story. It follows this nurse in 1911 on Ellis Island dealing with some traumatic experiences in her past, and also paralleling a 9/11 story of a woman who was widowed as a result and how their lives intertwine. It's so beautiful. I loved the writing, I loved the setting, I loved the characters, I loved the plot, and I kept getting surprised by new things that happened. So I just really loved this book. Next, I read Broken Harbor with the Murder Squad, and I will be having a video for this as well. This was the fourth book in Tana French's Dublin Murder Squad series. It's a really fantastic book. It was a great mystery. It really had me turning the page. I gave this book 5 stars. Definitely would recommend this. Even if you haven't read any of the other books in the series, it's just a really good mystery novel. Really good characters, really great detectives, just a book that kept me entertained from start to finish. Next, I read The Baker's Secret, which is a World War II story. I do have a spoiler-free video for this, but this book was set in Normandy, and it followed a baker, and she kind of gets involved in this resistance as these Germans who are living in their town are, you know, trying to change everything, and she's resisting them in her own way. And it was a really good story. It was a nice short read. Next, I read The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo. This book I read in the span of 2 days. Really quick contemporary read that takes place in New York City about 2 unrequited loves. I liked this book more initially when I first finished it compared to when I thought about what the book was actually about a couple days later. And then I had to bump it down a bit, so now it's like a 3.5, 3.25 star read, somewhere around that range. I enjoyed it and I was entertained while I was reading it, but I didn't agree with the characters or their decisions, so that's why on reflection I didn't like the book as much as I did. But I still think it was a good story. I like it when books make me think and make me determine how I feel about a situation, so I'm glad that this book did that, and I just didn't happen to agree with the characters. Next, I read Hunted by Megan Spooner. This is a young adult retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I'm posting my video for that today, so you'll see both of these videos up today. But this book I actually really enjoyed. It was a nice fantasy novel. Totally could read this book in a winter setting. And of course, I'm gonna love any Beauty and the Beast retelling. That's no shocker there. I love how this Beauty and the Beast story wasn't focused on the romance, so it was a unique twist to it, and I just really enjoyed it. I love the family elements for this book. It was just such an easy read. It took me 2 days. Would recommend. Next, I read Secrets of a Charmed Life by Susan Meissner, who also wrote A Fall of Marigolds, and I read it just because she wrote A Fall of Marigolds and I wanted to read something else by her. And this is also a World War II story of a teenager and her sister. I don't want to give anything else away because I kind of went into it only knowing that, and I really enjoyed it. Read it in 2 days. I feel like all of these books I read in 2 days. I don't know if that was the magic number for me this month, but yeah, I read this book in 2 days. I think I gave it around 4 stars. It wasn't the greatest World War II story I'd ever read, but I also still really loved it. Like, I couldn't help loving it. Some really good characters, especially Charlotte. I love Charlotte. If you've read this book, that woman was my favorite out of this whole book. I just thought she was such a sweet woman who embodied kindness and loyalty and grace to these children, and I just really appreciated her role in their lives. So really enjoyed this book. Next, I finished another audiobook. It was The Kitchen House by Kathleen Grissom. This is a book during the early years of America. It takes place in the South, and the servants that live at this plantation, and the story of how this white girl becomes a part of the family with the servants and then eventually with the white people of the house. I feel conflicted about this story because although I think it was a good story, there was so much drama and there were so many horrible things that happened, like one after another, that it ended up just feeling so hopeless, and it almost felt a bit unrealistic because every possible horrible thing that you could think of happening happened in this book. And because there was so much bad happening, it didn't hit you as hard when the bad things kept happening, because it's just like, oh, another bad thing happened, but it wasn't surprising. It was just like, oh, of course another thing like this would happen. So that was my only issue with it. I'm so conflicted on what I would rate it, and I just haven't rated it, but I think I'm gonna leave it that way. And finally, I read The Light Between Oceans, which was a long time coming. I'd wanted to read this book since I heard it was becoming a movie, and now it's been a movie and I still haven't seen it, but I love The Light Between Oceans. I gave it 5 stars. Just such an ethical dilemma, and I'm not really gonna describe much about the story because you probably already know. The writing really pulls you in, and it makes you feel so torn, because in one second you're agreeing with Tom, and the next with Isabel, and the next you're seeing the plight of the mother, and it's so hard to figure out what the right thing was in this scenario. So I liked how it ended, but I'm still really sad. There really was no right answer for this book, and that was really hard, but I think the author did an amazing job with it, because I was totally just sucked in, and I felt like I was a part. I was living on Janet's Rock with the Lightkeeper. That was one of my favorite books that I read this month for sure. All right, well, that is it for my wrap up so far. I will have another wrap up coming once the booktubeathon is complete, and I'll just share about those books that I read. Also, I've been vlogging this week for the booktubeathon, so it's kind of fun. I kind of don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to have fun with it, so that will go up when the booktubeathon is complete, obviously. I'm just gonna have all the days mashed into one vlog, so it may end up being kind of long, but hopefully that's okay. We'll see how it goes. Okay, well, I'm done rambling, so thank you so much for watching, and happy reading.